Hello, welcome to this video where we will be talking about horizontal integration, defining it and giving you some examples of what it is. So what is horizontal integration? Well, horizontal integration is simply where a media conglomerate will own more than one company that operate in the same media platform. So for example, where a media conglomerate will own lots of different companies that are all in the film industry, or lots of different companies that are all in the video games industry, and they are in a sense competing with each other. A slightly less well-known version, it could also mean across different platforms, so it's where a conglomerate could also own companies of a similar size in film, television and publishing and so on. And in a sense, the media conglomerate will own companies that are actually competing with each other for the same business. So let's take a little example of this with the Disney company. So how Disney work within the film industry is through horizontal integration, and this is where they own several companies that all make films, all aimed at different audiences but all competing for the same business. One company they own, for example, is Marvel Studios, who make Avengers and Black Panther and Iron Man and films that are in the Marvel universe, but they also own Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm make all the Star Wars films. They also own Pixar, which make all the Toy Story films and Cars and The Incredibles and things like that. They also own 20th Century, which make more traditional sort of films, things like Predator and stuff like that. And they also own Disney themselves, which make things like Frozen. So the idea is when you go along to your local cinema and you see 5 films to choose from, they may or well be owned by Disney. So Disney don't really mind which one you choose because they're going to get the profit either way, and it's a way for them to try and get as much of the share of the audience as they possibly can. A slightly less well-known version of horizontal integration is where you can have the same media conglomerate owning companies across different media platforms that are of a kind of similar size, and this you can see with Warner Media. So for example, they will own Warner Animation Group in the film. These make the Lego movies. They can also have Cartoon Network in television, who make things like Adventure Time. They also own HBO in television as well. They can also own CNN, which is the news channel. They own Rocksteady, who make the Batman games, Arkham Asylum and so on for video games, and they also own DC Comics. So the idea with horizontal integration across different platforms is none of these companies are any bigger than the others. They're all of a similar size, but they're all owned by the same conglomerate, and they will all act independently of each other quite often, but they are all under the same umbrella of Warner Media. So potential benefits of horizontal integration. Well, the main benefit is that it gives a bigger share of the market for the parent company or the conglomerate. So Disney, for example, will have a much bigger share of the film market because different people are using different companies that they own. So you might go and see a Marvel film and not be interested in Star Wars films and vice versa, but they don't really mind because they still get your custom. A second way that horizontal integration benefits conglomerates is it allows them to control release patterns, and this means that they can release things that don't clash with each other. So they will release a new Avengers film at a different time than they would release a new Star Wars film, and therefore they don't ask their audiences to choose one over the other, and they can maximise their revenue and profits that way. And another way is that it will help with synergy, as brands can be marketed across different platforms through the companies that the conglomerate own. So for example, with the Lego movie you have a film, but you also had a book which was released through a publishing company that Warner's would own. You had the soundtrack which would be released through Warner Music, and you would have a video game which would be made by a Warner Brothers video game company, and therefore they are able to sell you the same product through lots of different companies, different times, and get profit from each one because they own all those different companies. So, in conclusion, horizontal integration is where a media conglomerate owns lots of different companies that operate in the same media market and are of the same size.